Today is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, and this will actually be a short video, and I just have one point really to make, and I saw this on the subreddit Retconned, and I just made a video about this. It's a great topic. It's just something that I think is one of the best ways to show, hey, the Bible's real. Things that are talked about as end times prophecy in the Bible, they're happening right now in our lifetime. And so I love it when I stumble upon something like this and I see people bringing that up. And too often I stumble on something like this and I see nobody mentioning that. And instead you see a bunch of shills talking about alternate dimensions. Oh, welcome to Earth 2.0. You'll get used to it. I see those kind of comments. And it's very few and far between that you see people talking about the actual truth and how this is end times prophecy and bringing it to Jesus, which is the most important part, and eventual salvation. That's the whole point. Do you want to get out of this place? Do you want to live forever in heaven? The only way to do that is through Jesus. And for some of us, what brought us to Jesus was the truth, the truther stuff, conspiracy, sure, flat earth, the skeleton thing. And just, I think a huge one is this end times, the sun and moon being brighter and time moving more quickly. I think that those are just things that people are going to not be able to deny them at a certain point. And I think we're already there. I mean, this stuff has been going on for decades. It's been a slow increase for all these things. And I really do believe that this is a good way to wake people up. If they'll eventually not be able to deny this stuff anymore. And so this was a great comment. I really would post on Reddit, but I'm just shadow banned, like, on all ways. Reddit will never allow any of my comments to post. So I really appreciate it if anyone does use Reddit. The people over at the Retconned subreddit, they talk about these biblical things sometimes, and there really do need to be more people out there bringing it to the Bible. This person they even start off kind of like, oh, I know I'm going to get flack for this. This will likely not be popular, but it's the viewpoint of many that share the same understanding of the times we are living in. They mention Revelation chapter 16, the sun will scorch men with extreme heat. So I'll leave a link to this Reddit post. You can go read this stuff if you want to. I'm always glad when I see people talking about this sort of stuff. And more about what this video is about is not even just the truther thing. That's where I find myself. That's what my energy feels like going into running my channel, and I think it's probably the best way that I personally can spread the gospel. And it really inspires me when I see other people talking about the gospel, and in a way where it's like I see other people spreading the gospel in just ways that I don't. And just the way, so for example, how often are you just watching some random YouTube video that has nothing to do with anything, and you're scrolling through the comments and somebody has this huge post about Jesus loves you and how if you're going through hard times, you need to start a relationship with Jesus. I see messages like this constantly, and something about it it really warms my heart to know that Jesus is working in other people in that way. Like, a lot of people might look down on that and think that's silly, like why this person is leaving a comment about Jesus on some music video that has nothing to do with that. But to me, it just goes into this thing that I know about God. God is merciful. God isn't going to make salvation this obscure thing that you have to jump through a million loops and that it's super hidden and obscure. God is going to make salvation easily accessible to everybody, and it's up to you whether you accept it or not. And so to me, I've always known, I used to be, I never was like a staunch atheist or anything, but I was in the agnostic camp. But part of me just always knew that if I was going to not be agnostic, then I would be Christian. It was just like the obvious answer to me. And I have similar feelings when I'm just going through random YouTube videos and you'll see comments talking about Jesus. You don't see that for other stuff. And I mean, what do other religions even have to offer? What even would that mean for a Buddhist to just randomly pop up in the YouTube comments? What would they start talking about the middle path? What does that give anybody? What is the outcome? Where people that are sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ are offering people salvation, eternity in heaven. And so something about it when you just see people that they they just have to talk about Jesus and the gospel in places where people won't even think that it's appropriate. And you don't see that with other religions because they have nothing to offer. And you see that a lot of religions, they don't even go out and try to get new members. But then why? What, you don't have something to offer? You have nothing to give to people, so that's why you must not think very highly of this if you don't want to go give it to other people, or you're just a stingy person. If what you have is so amazing, and but then you don't want to go give it to other people. And that's just something about Jesus, that when Jesus is really, I don't know, when somebody loves Jesus, you can see that it's something that they want to give to other people. And I just don't see that with anything else. And to me, that just makes it so obvious. Of course, God is going to make salvation the most obvious way, the answer that is just the most clear. And God is going to want to save as many people as possible. So the correct religion, the true religion, is going to be the one that is spread the most. And it's also one of these like truth in plain sight things too. The way that Satan operates is Satan wants to get you to reject the truth. So that's why the Bible has always, right? They could have taken the Bible and made it outer space fantasy, but that defeats the purpose. What Satan wants to do is show everybody that the Bible is flat earth and then get them to not believe in that. That's how Satan operates. So in the same way, rather than coming up with some totally fake religion and trying to obscure the people in control, they have control of the narrative. They could have done everything in their power to hide Jesus, but everybody knows who Jesus is. And it's because that's the way that it works. That's the way that Satan works. If Satan is going to get your soul, he needs to get you to reject Jesus. He can't totally obscure the truth from you and then say, haha, you didn't find out who Jesus was. And then the person's like, well, wait, nobody ever told me about it. Do you see what I'm getting at? The way that this whole thing works is everybody knows about Jesus, and it's up to you whether you accept it or not. And God is merciful in that way, that the way to salvation is not something obscure and unknown and something that people aren't talking about. The way to salvation is something that everybody knows about. Just the problem is that everything is so corrupted these days. And I guess that's something that I didn't finish my thought on. Rather than totally hiding Jesus and trying to just stomp it out, it's almost like Jesus started a fire that couldn't be put out, basically. And so rather than trying to obscure it, what Satan does is just try to corrupt it, try to get people to not believe in it, put in a bunch of pastors that corrupt it. And it could even start to get into the Saul Paul stuff, but I'll leave that for another video. Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached into all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Surely the end is very close. There's no such thing as Ooga Booga tribes out there that have no contact, or in the Amazon. All that stuff is just made up Nat Geo stuff. And I think that we are almost at the point where everybody has access to knowing the gospel, knowing how to get to salvation, and that's through Jesus Christ only. Christianity is the fastest growing religion in China. And I think that this just goes in with God is going to make salvation accessible, and it's not going to be obscure, and people who know about the true salvation are going to want to share that with as many people as they can. And I think the only religion that you ever see that with is Christianity. is the only religion that you see where it just totally changes people's lives, and they want to share that and get as many people as they can to see it too. And so I'm just going to read some Bible verses. You don't see stuff from Lamentations very often. Lamentations chapter 3 verses 22 and 23. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. God never gives up on us, and every day we get new mercies, and it's a miracle that we're even still hanging on at this point. Here are just some more verses about mercies. The Micah and Malachi are really great Old Testament books that don't get talked about much. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Malachi, and they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. This is a great verse because it's foreshadowing to Jesus. There's a lot of parts like that in the Old Testament. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful. And this last verse, 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 3, Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And yeah, that's it. There's just, hopefully I made this, my sentiment clear. It's kind of a hard thing to describe, just a feeling. There's a certain feeling that I get when you're just out there in the wilderness of the internet, and you'll see people that they don't seem like bot comments or anything like that, but it is kind of striking in that the video will be about one thing, and in the comments you'll just see somebody talking about Jesus and how he's the way to salvation, and something about it, it warms my heart to know that people are just inspired like that to share the gospel with anybody, anywhere, anytime. And not everybody's path to salvation is the same. It's kind of a nice, humbling, grounding thing to me to remember, oh yeah, there's a bunch of people out there that love Jesus and that they share the gospel more than I even do, and they know nothing about flat earth or the inverts or anything. There's just something that is really grounding about that, and I love that. Hope you enjoyed this video. God bless everyone.